Hi, it's Gary. Today we're going to be wrapping up the month of January. We'll be taking a look at the 7 pens and the inks that I've been using this month. I'll give some thoughts about them and then I'll rank them in descending order from my least favourite to my favourite pen of the month. Now January, this was a hard month because I've got to be honest, I really enjoyed using each of the pens. So it's going to be an interesting look at what I thought of these pens and why I ranked them the way I did. So here we are down on the pad. The pen that came in at position number 7 for this month is this. This is a Wing Sung 3008 clone. The ink I had in here is Robert Oster Terracotta. Now I really like this ink. I love the colour of it. It's a nice orangey coloured ink. The problem I had was with the nib on this pen. So this is a cheap pen. I mean, it was about $3.50 Aussie dollars, so it's not an expensive pen. As you can see, we've got a nice looking nib. It's really plain, which is really nice, but the nib's extra fine. One of the things I was trying to do with this pen was to try and increase the ink flow and also get a more consistent writing experience with it, which was fine. It wrote not bad, but it was very inconsistent. I would get quite a lot of skips and the ink flow just wasn't there. It wasn't letting enough ink out to really show off the quality of the ink. So what I tried to do is I tried to play around with a nib. So I took an emery board and I took my fine grit paper to really try and smooth it out, which really worked. I got a nice smooth nib. Problem was, it was extra fine to start with and it only made the nib finer. The result of that, as I was writing, well, I was actually stabbing through the paper when I was just writing. It was that fine. It was a bit like a needle just going through the paper. So that's why I had to put this in at number 7. So position number 7 is that Wing Sung 3008 with the Robert Oster Terracotta. So here we go. Let me move this in, hopefully get this in camera. You can see here what I was saying about the ink. Beautiful colour, just too fine, which was a shame. Position number 6 is a Jinhao 100. This is the meteorite pattern. So the nib on this, it's a medium nib. It's a really nice nib to write with. Just reposition the paper so we can see the writing samples. As you can see here, it's beautiful with this Robert Oster vine leaf. Halfway through the month, it ran out, so I swapped it for Pilot Iroshizuku Shinryoku. Again, really nice ink. Problem that I have with this pen, it writes really well on virtually every paper I've got, apart from Clairefontaine. There's just something about Clairefontaine that it just does not like. So what I did is, again, like with that Wing Sung, I used my emery board and I was using my smoothing paper to work on the nib to try and take away if it's got any baby's bottom or anything like that, which would prevent it from writing on that Clairefontaine. It really worked well. The nib now is so smooth, it's just like writing on glass. It really was worth the few minutes effort to smooth that down. It works better on the Clairefontaine, but the Robert Oster vine leaf ink is what it was struggling with. When I switched over to that Shinryoku, it's a beautiful pen to write with. But coming up with my overall score, because of the issues I had at the start of the month with that vine leaf on Clairefontaine, well, I just had to drop that down the rankings. So this pen comes in this month as number 6. Pen number 5. Well, for this month, it's actually this one, which is the TWSBI VAC 700R in the Iris pattern. This has got a broad nib, and in it I had Van Diemen's Deciduous Beech. I love this pen. Love the looks of it. Love this gorgeous nib. The colours in it. I mean, I can't go on enough about how much I really do like this pen. The problem I had wasn't really with the pen as such. It was with the ink. I think the ink is a poor match for this pen. I like the orange colour. I just think it's too pale. It's not saturated enough. I think I need to look at more saturated ink to go into this pen. I mean, it writes beautifully. It works on every paper I've tried it with. It's just a personal choice. I don't like the look of the ink as it's coming out of there, which is such a shame. So when I do a future month with this pen, I'm going to try a darker ink. I might look at a darker blue or something like that. I'd be interested in your comments. What inks do you think I should try in this pen? Remember, it's a broad nib, and really I want to show this off and show how good a pen this really is. But unfortunately for this month, well, it's pen number 5. Pen number 4. I really hummed and hawed about pen in position 3 and 4 because they're both matching really the same. But for number 4, I'm afraid I had to go with this one, which is the Fountain Pen Revolution Darjeeling. This is a pen made in India. It's the first time I've had an Indian pen. Really, really nice. I like the colour of the pen. There's the nib. The nib looks really nice as well. So I started off the month with a Pen BBS ink in this, number 276, Chengdu Red. Partway through the month, well then I swapped that for a Robert Oster Rubin, again a nice red ink. Just move that up a little bit more so you can see it. Really like the pen, really like the inks that were in it. So you must be saying, well Gary, why is it at position number 4? So the issue I had with this may not be a problem with the pen. Here in Perth, we've had some really hot weather over the past few weeks. I mean, it's hit 40 degrees for a few days. And what I was finding is the ink in this pen, it was being starved of the ink flow. So if I leave it for a while, it just would not write. And the only way I could get it to write was actually to rinse off the nib. So there's something that looks like it's ink actually drying up in either the feed or in that nib, which is causing the problem. So I don't think it's actually a problem with the pen. I think it's purely the environment, the weather that we've been having. So I'm going to put this one aside for a couple of months until we've got cooler weather. Then I'm going to give it another try and see how it does, because again, I like the pen. I like the inks that were in it. I don't think it's the pen's fault, but I've got to rate it somewhere. So unfortunately, for this month, I rate this at number 4. For this month's position number 3, this one goes to the Moonman M800 in blue, which has the Moonman nib. So there's the nib for you to see. I love the Moonman M800 pens. I really do. I think they're gorgeous pens. In this, I had Noodler's Navajo Turquoise. Again, I love that ink. It's my favourite blue shade of ink. Really love it. You know, we can look here at the sample here. It looks really nice. So why is this at number 3? Well, one of the things I was finding is I was getting some little bits of skipping. Now, this was more prevalent on the Clairefontaine paper again. The rest of the papers, well, it seemed to work fine. I had a little bit of the issue with that ink drying out, and again, same as the Fountain Pen Revolution, I'm putting that down to the weather. But the big difference between the two, with this one, I just had to give it a quick wipe over with a cloth and it would start writing again. Whereas with the Fountain Pen Revolution, it really was a pain to get it to start writing again. The ink in this, I think, was a beautiful match. I mean, they look so well together, that gorgeous blues and the way that you got that chatoyancy in the blues with that turquoise ink. Really love it. There was a few little issues, which means this comes in at position number 3 for this month. Just going to reposition the paper. So that means we've only got 2 slots left. So which of these is going to take slot number 2? Well, that goes to another Moonman M800, this time in the amber. I absolutely love the colour of this pen. I mean, look at that gorgeous chatoyancy there. This is one of my favourite and best looking pens. The nib on this is a Bock nib, as opposed to the blue one, which had a Moonman nib. So that's the difference between the two really, is other than the colour, it's that nib. With this one, I had no issues when I was writing. I had no skips, I had no problems at all. It wrote really well. The ink, so this Robert Oster Aussie Brown that I had in here, love this ink in this pen. Again, you know, when you look at some of the darker tones, it really matches well for that. Really writes nicely. If I had to really say there was an issue with it, it's a cartridge converter, whereas a number of other pens obviously are piston or vacuum fillers. And because it's a cartridge converter, well, the capacity isn't that big. So I had to fill this a couple of times during the month. But I kept that same ink in it because I really like this ink in this pen. So this pen comes in at position number 2. Which means, if you haven't already worked out, the number 1 pen for January of 2021 was this. This is a Pilot Custom Heritage 92, It's got a medium nib. It's a gold nib. Of all the pens that I used this month, this is the only one with a gold nib. If I take a look at that nib, it's just gorgeous. I know it's silver coloured because it's plated, but it is gold. It is so smooth and soft to write with. It's such a pleasure. I mean, it's one of those few pens where you don't want to put it down. You just want to write with it. It writes absolutely gorgeous. The ink in here was Pilot Iroshizuku Momiji. So it's a slightly pinkish ink. Looks really nice. Comes out really, really well. You know, it looks, although it's a medium pen, to me it looks a little bit thicker than medium, but I love writing with it. In the hand, you know, it just feels gorgeous. It's a bit short when it's not posted, but posted, it's just a beautiful pen to write with. You know, it posts really well and securely. This one's a piston filler, so it gets a good amount of ink. The ink in here lasted me the full month. I didn't have to do a refill. I just love this pen. I can't say anything more better about it than I already have. You know, it's just my number one pen. So for January, it's position number 1. So here we have them, my 7 pens from January. The Wing Sung 3008 clone. The Jinhao 100 in Meteorite. The TWSBI VAC 700R in the iris pattern. The Fountain Pen Revolution Darjeeling. The Moonman M800 in blue. The Moonman M800 in amber. And my top pen for the month, that Pilot Custom Heritage 92. I hope you've enjoyed today's video. If you have, please hit that thumbs up button. Give me a like. Have you got these pens? Have you got these inks? If you have, why not drop a comment down below? Let's kickstart the conversation with your thoughts. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel so that you can get new videos as I release them. I'll talk to you again soon.